Invisible juggling.
Cats? All right, welcome to the post-race edition of the Rowdy.com Big Three. Sonoma dominated by Kurt Busch. Before we talk about him,
He took out his whooping stick.
let's let him talk about their winning strategy.
Had great fuel mileage to go along with it, and just the car, it would get stronger after 5 or 6 laps of running, and that's not normal.
2 stops.
At first I thought, what are they doing? Are they trying to stretch such a big lead that he can just stay in front when he pits? I didn't get what they were doing at first because the notion of 2 stops was so foreign.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Obviously, you spend less time on pit road, and if you're up towards the front, you can kind of keep your track position. Now, I think the cautions fell right for that strategy
absolutely.
to work. But they were in control the whole way. And give Steve Addington some credit. I mean, this guy's won a couple road course races with Kyle Busch.
Swept the road course races with Kyle Busch.
And he was the guy who figured out the setup. This new tire really threw a lot of these teams for a loop. He figured it out. He executed the strategy perfectly. And Kurt Busch, this is his 10th straight year with a win in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. So he's talented.
Well, is anybody on more of a roll than Kurt Busch right now?
No.
3 straight poles and a win? Come on, he's got to be at the top of everybody's power polls, doesn't he? I mean, and
look, it's a road course, but it does pay off the last month of progress they've made. So I think it'll be. This is a guy probably the best plate driver never to have won at a plate track. He could certainly make that argument. Now he's going to Daytona. I think it's going to be an interesting week for him.
And is 2 stops the new normal at Sonoma now?
2 stops, you have to have things fall your way. You got to be near the front. Bear in mind, he started 9th and drove right to the front. So that allowed him to work that strategy.
Well, and Carl Edwards said at one point that, every once in a while he would lay down a lap. Busch would lay down a lap that was just blazing fast.
Yeah, just to kind of say.
Just compared to his other laps.
Right. And here's the other thing. I think a lot of people got a little, I don't know, at the end of the race, a lot of them came in for tires because the tires were giving up a lot. And they maybe overvalued that a little bit because the guys who stayed out, the Jeff Gordons and the Carl Edwards, ended up with a good finish.
Well, and Jeff Gordon said that his grip actually helped him get up on those curbs, which helped him get the corners better. So anyway, let's move on to Carl Edwards because this was an interesting weekend for Carl Edwards and to me, a very impressive weekend. This is a guy who had run 200 and some odd straight nationwide races, went to Road America in Wisconsin and said, you know what? I really feel like I need to be putting my focus, my energy elsewhere, went back to Cup, stepped out of his nationwide car, and ended up with a 3rd-place finish on a road course. Not something you would expect of Carl Edwards. This weekend said to me that Carl Edwards is focused solely on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship.
He needs to be. And it reminds me of 2008 when Edwards nearly won the championship because he went to places like Martinsville and ran 3rd. He went to places like Phoenix and ran 2nd or 3rd or top 5. He was able to perform on courses that weren't his strong suit, and I think that's what you saw yesterday. And obviously, running nationwide series, at least in this case, does take a little bit away from your Cup effort if you've got to travel back and forth.
Well, look at what happened to Brad Keselowski last year.
Exactly, and he didn't have that issue this time around either. So Carl Edwards, that performance does say, to me, speak volumes about where the team is.
When Carl Edwards can finish 3rd on a road course, look out.
Katie bar the door.
Katie, who is Katie, and where is the
She's
store?
the woman that goes around barring doors.
Well, she should stay out of the bars. All right, issue number 3. Lots of big names in the back of the pack. Let's start by talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. because we have some audio. Listen to Dale Jr. He had fun despite a poor finish.
You know, you kind of want to get up in the middle of it, you know. You want to get in the middle of it and have fun. Everybody's banging around, but your car can't survive it. So they just spun out in front of me in 11, and I just kind of ran into somebody with the front of my car. But beating the banger was kind of fun.
Well, yeah, that was just one of those days for Junior. I mean, one of the few races where he's not up there on the lead lap. He wasn't going to probably run top 5 or anything like that, but he got caught up in the wreck. The first Brian Vickers-Tony Stewart incident poked a hole in the radiator. Eventually, they lost the engine. But just to show you how this point system works, all those consistent good finishes kept him up towards the front. One bad finish where you get, I think he ended up with 3 points. He drops 4 spots in the standings.
Right, but the key to Dale Earnhardt Jr. is that he had all those consistent finishes, so
he had
that
a margin for error.
He could afford to have a crappy finish.
Unlike
Tony Stewart.
Right, who went from potentially 40 points, 39, 40 points to 6 points.
Right, so now he's in 12th. outside of the top 10 looking in without a win. Tony Stewart is behind the 8-ball. And I'm sure that 8-ball is somewhere in Katie's door that needs to be barred.
Well, Katie needs to unbar the door, take the 8-ball out, and throw it away for Tony Stewart. I mean, he had to do what he thought was right out there yesterday, but it cost him severely. It cost him dearly. And we'll see. You get to Daytona. This is where this whole margin for error thing comes into play. You get to Daytona, something wacky happens there. Now you're behind 2 8-balls.
Right. But another guy, big name, who finished in the back of the pack, Denny Hamlin, at least he's got that win to his credit. So if he doesn't make the top 10 after Richmond, he's got that wild card berth.
Not only that, but just to show you how the way the wild card works.
Jeff Gordon's now in the top 10.
Jeff Gordon's now in the top 10, making Denny's position even better. So Denny, you're going to see this when you get to Richmond, rooting for some other guy to do well enough to get into the top 10 so you can claim the wild card. It's wacky. But yes, Denny Hamlin should still be okay.
I think he should be too. All right, that is the Rowdy.com Big 3 post-Sonoma edition. We got lots more to talk about in terms of Sonoma, so check out some of our other videos. We're going to do one on all the conflicts, all the race conflicts.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do one on missed opportunities, Juan Pablo Montoya, Marcus Ambrose. So make sure you stick around, check out all the other videos we're going to have coming out today.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.